Hi everyone, welcome back. I thought I'd make a contribution this year to autumn reads. I have gotten a lot of good ideas from other booktubers' autumn reads, especially when they're talking about things that are a little off the beaten path, a little less talked about. One of them I recently got was from a autumn reads video by Biblio Sophie, and she suggested Julian Barnes' The Sense of an Ending. So I'm trying that. I own it. It's been sitting here. It's one of those dollar library sale things, and I've really wanted to try a Julian Barnes. So yeah, I have it out and I'm gonna give it a try at some point this fall. So I thought about some books that I've read in the fall, just probably by happenstance. I'm a mood reader, so maybe I had a feeling that these books had a fall sense to them, and that's why I was reading them. I was just like drawn to them in this season when, already today, this weekend here in Pennsylvania, summer has folded itself up and gone back home, and now fall has arrived truly, and we're just having a couple days where it's not getting above like 57 degrees, so it's fully here. Oh, I was supposed to light a candle, right? Like I want to do the whole thing. I have a candle that I just keep here on this bookshelf. We don't light candles very much anymore because of Tukey. I just want to make sure that I'm around, obviously, and I have another one here. It's pumpkin butter. This one is from Trader Joe's. It's vanilla pumpkin. And this one is just from wherever I happened to be, and it was on sale. I've gotten spoiled by candles. Whew, that's gonna have a big flame, even though I did try to knock off that wick a little bit. I've been spoiled by candles because my daughter was making them like before the pandemic, and she was making soy candles in these little flat jars with a wooden wick and just the purest scent, like the right amount of scent, and she stopped making them. So she's going to help me gather the ingredients and make some of my own. Fall reads. Okay. I wanted to start off. I'll start off by talking about two books that I've read that I think are good fall reads. This is an obvious one, really, is The Hobbit. I don't think it starts off in the fall, but everything about The Hobbit really just speaks fall to me because of where it takes place in this magical land in the woods. It's a journey with a map, if any of you have read The Hobbit. And I don't know, it feels cozy. I've watched the newest movie. There's something about it. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. So yeah, I would recommend, if you've never dug into Tolkien, this would be a fun time of year to do it, and it's a shorter book compared to his others. Then another one that I thought of, that I recall reading this when it came out in paperback. I really feel like it was last fall, or maybe it was earlier, the first thing this year. I'm not sure. But man, does that first section have a fall feel to it. I just pictured it as the fall, and I wondered if that was it was a true memory in the writing, or whether it was just how I felt about it. And then I started reading it. So the main character takes a walk. So this is in New York City in 1893, except it's an alternative 1893. The day was all, so this main character likes to take a walk after dinner. He lives in like Washington Square, New York City. The day was that day was over, almost, and the sky was the particular rich ink purple that he couldn't see without remembering, achy, being away at school and watching everything shade itself black and the outline of the trees dissolve in front of him. Winter would be upon them soon, and he had worn only his light coat. But nevertheless, he kept going, crossing his arms snug against his chest and turning up his lapels. So this three different worlds, this beautiful book, this saga apparently starts right before wintertime. And I couldn't think of a better time to start this beautiful book, To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. All right, those are two books that I've read. Here are, I want to talk about a third one. I forgot I wrote it down. Oh, Caledonia by Elspeth Barker. I did read this last fall. I didn't know anything about this book or when it was written. I just assumed it was an old book based on how gloomy at times, gothic it is. It's about, is she a 17-year-old girl? And at the very beginning of the book, we're told that she has died. And then you're backing up into her story. She lives in an old house, and I think she's got this dysfunctional mother, and she's an outcast at school. She just isn't like everyone else, and she looks to nature for solace. She likes to spend a lot of time outside. And I really enjoyed the way that Elspeth Barker brings in the surroundings around her house, or I'm not remembering now, maybe it's away at school, but just this love of nature and connection really with nature is what you feel, and how she's not like the other girls, because the other girls aren't really connecting in that way. And then one other one is not a cozy read, but it just feels like it's this time of year or into the winter you would read the Copenhagen Trilogy by Tove Ditlevsen. It's not a cozy book, but I loved the starkness of the writing and the clarity of the voice. This is a memoir that's done in 3 parts, but the Copenhagen Trilogy book brings those 3 parts together, and it is her childhood, her very bleak childhood in Copenhagen. I'm going to guess it's in the 30s or 40s. In a very dysfunctional but perhaps even a little bit typical for the area that she grew up in, and their struggle with money. It just has this coldness to it, but it also has this hope, even though she doesn't really express herself as having hope, but it's a will to live. I will say that. It's a will to survive. And she, the way that she tries to get out on her own within and without her mother's approval and oversight and overbearingness, and the way that her mother grasps control by trying to control her daughter, and then just what happens in her striving to be a writer, a poet, even though, of course, her family can't relate to that at all. But the extent to which she will go to try to make a living for herself so that she can write until she can make money off of writing. It's really a book that stayed with me. It's just feels like the right atmosphere to read a book like that. Then 3 books that I have here as recommendations that I haven't read. Maybe I will finally get to We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It just feels like any Shirley Jackson. The autumn is the time to read a Shirley Jackson. I've never read her, so maybe this is such a short book. I have it out, and maybe I'll dip in and get to it, along with that Julian Barnes. And then I said to myself that I would really love to read Frankenstein this year. I have a Frankenstein that I got at a sale right here, this Barnes & Noble Classic. But then I picked up this Norton Critical Edition. I've never read a story using a critical edition. And I'm already loving it. I'm loving, and someone's already underlined it, but I'm just loving like the education that you can get around Mary Shelley. And I know she had some male contemporaries, and just has a fascinating life. And I think this Norton critical edition, if I can just settle myself down and actually give myself time to read it and enjoy it, I really do want to get to this in the next few months. So this is one I'm looking forward to. And then, one more. Bleak House. I'd really love to read this someday. I love the name. Does it mean it's a bleak house? I don't know. But it's about a law firm, and they're trying to settle a case having to do with inheritance, I think. It says here, as the interminable case of Jarndyce and Jarndyce grinds its way through the court of chancery, it draws together a disparate group of people, Ada Clare and Richard Carstone, whose inheritance is gradually being devoured by legal costs. Esther Summerson, a ward of court, whose parentage is a source of deepening mystery. The menacing lawyer Tulkinghorn, the determined sleuth Inspector Bucket, and even Joe, a destitute crossing sweeper. I started to dip into it because I just thought, does this start in the fall? And I think it does. It also says that Bleak House was first published in 19 monthly installments. I always like to know that about how these early books were put together. Okay, felt like the way that they were describing this murky afternoon and the fog and the mud, that it might very well be right before winter. So Bleak House, I mean, it just seems like this is the time of year to read something like this, either fall or winter. I really do want to get to this book. Please let me know, any of you that have read this. I feel like this would, of course, be a slow read, just like My Anthony Trollops, and I would just have this simmering, or maybe this is one that I read in chapters, like one chapter a morning, just to break it up. So I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get to this. I read a book a couple years ago called Bleak House. It was a memoir about a woman who went to the ends of the earth. Where did she go? Was it Antarctica, the North Pole, somewhere? And she was going there to write a book, but instead she wrote a memoir about her experience. I don't know if she ever wrote the book. I'll list it down in the notes because it's called something like The Bleak House. And I read it when I first moved here, and it was one of those staff picks at the library. It was so good. Oh my gosh, she had to bring all her food. I think she was staying at a house, a remote house. So it wasn't Antarctica or anything. No. It was somewhere very bleak though. And she had to bring her own food, and she's struggling to make it last. I mean, oh, so good. Okay, well, this is it. Candles and all. I lit it up, I created the atmosphere. I hope this at least gives you some ideas of some fall books that maybe you haven't thought of. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you on the next one.